Record. Share all of it. So it is you. Oh, shit. Shit.
The initial velocity minus
Okay.
acceleration.
Yes.
Okay, so I have some quick announcements before I turn it over to Charlie and Connie for the discussion. There's this QR code. I sent out an announcement, I think, over the weekend about a bonus branching lecture. Some people have come up to me and asked about it. So can you please just take a second, 20 seconds. Can you scan this QR code and just tell me, yes, I'm interested, no, I'm not interested, because I just want to get the vibe of decal. If you've already filled it out, thank you. I really appreciate it. Branching is like, it's a way to basically organize Git. It can get really messy, but it can also be really cool if you're able to figure it out. So I might hold that this Friday. If you can't make my office hours time, no worries. I'll just record it, put it on YouTube. But I just need to know if this is something you guys want or not. I might host other bonus lectures. Charlie and I have been talking about environments. You don't need to know what that is. There's only we texted about it, so it's not even for sure. But yeah, might be other bonus lectures, might be fun bonus lectures, don't know yet. But yeah, so that's the first announcement. Did everyone scan this? Okay, a thumbs up. Did we scan it? Okay, cool, thank you. Next one. This one's even more important. Sorry, it says announcement for final projects. Please pick a partner and select an office hours time. Please scan this if you haven't filled this out already. You don't have to have a partner for the final project. You cannot work in groups of 3. It is either 1 or 2. You can't be a trio. Sorry. If you do want to work with a partner and you know who they are, then please put their name in the Google form. If you want to work with someone but you don't have anyone, we will pair you with someone if there are enough people wanting to be in partnerships. Also, we'll talk more about this on Thursday, but basically you will have to go to the office hours of your assigned mentor at least twice before final project presentations. Way more information about this on Thursday. But yeah, so please make sure you're available. If not, there is a section at the very bottom, because we will be hosting bonus check-in times. But yeah, we highly recommend office hours because it'll just be way more efficient. Okay, we scan this too. And thumbs up. Awesome, cool. Okay, last announcement. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, it's on Thursday, apparently, is so do you guys know what UAS is? It's the Undergrad Astronomy Society. It's dope. We love them. Maham is the president, and she's also teaching this class. So it's a nice little study hall. It should be fun and funky. And there will be lots of people there who know Python. So if you're like, what the actual hell is going on? Please help me. There will be someone there who can help you. Which will be fun. Drawing art by our dearest friend Symbol. I actually don't know that for sure, but I know it for sure because I know Symbol's art style, and it's all of physics. Yeah, so you could either go to do Python or you could learn all of physics, as it says there. So yeah, go to that. It's fun. It's cool. It's cute. Let's get started with some Python now.
Okay, so the way today's gonna work is a discussion, but we're gonna ask everyone to close your laptop because we are going to go conceptual today. So the way it's gonna work is we're gonna run through a couple of topics. The first topic is gonna be debugging, and then we're gonna run through a couple of questions with lists, dictionaries, functions, that jazz to get some practice. I think we distributed little index cards. They should all have a little letter on them with a color. Find the people of your letter and go sit with them. Please take a second to do this.
Oh, I thought you were thinking, oh, hey.
You
By the way,
Say.
I will do that. Okay, we'll have A,
Yeah, same here.
we'll have group A here, group B in the middle there, group C there, group D there. I think that's it. Group B, so behind group D.
it came to the US, I didn't have to jump ship. It's a better word, I came legally, so I don't have to jump things. Honestly, the amount of fences I've been jumping the last few days is actually ridiculous.
How you doing?
Someone thought it was really funny. There was a security fence. I couldn't climb it with but because my toes are shaped wrong, I can use my toes and actually climb.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got Valentine.
Yeah, I'll hand you a little bit of card. Sorry. A, B, C, D. So just find your people.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Over, yeah.
Oh, I haven't said that.
Oh, it's not about that usually, but it is a valid question.
It's bad. It's bad.
Okay, is everybody around people that have a similar letter to them? Is anybody alone? Okay, that's good. All right. You want to start?
Yeah, so we're not going to start in groups yet. We just wanted to do this so we could keep the flow going. We're gonna do some debugging. I don't know if we've formally defined what debugging is, but it's a thing. Bugs are things in your code that make it not work, and it's very irritating. And debugging is an art form in and of itself. And you will face many, many errors. And here are a few of the errors you are going to face, and we're going to solve them together. I will take input. I will take a few people's input, and I will not give away the answer until I have heard a few people's input here. And then we'll try to run it and see what happens. Great thing about something like VS Code, and then later on when we start doing Jupyter Notebooks, is that it points out your errors to you. This gets less useful when your error is not a syntax error, but it's an error in that your function doesn't return what you want it to return. Because then you have to like go through your code line by line and be like, is this returning what I think it should? So let's start. This is a syntax error. So let's take a second and look through what's going on here. This is defining the thing called a Jeans mass. If you take stellar physics, you will learn what this is, but it's essentially the amount of mass within a given radius that will collapse to form a star. What did? Oh, I thought I took the thing. Anyways, so what's going on here? Where's the issue? Feel free to yell out.
5K.
5K. I see a hand. 5K. I see a hand.
5K.
5K. How do I fix this? Why is it irritated at me?
No time symbol.
No. No time symbol. It's treating it as a variable. I see a hand.
I was gonna have to say that to fix that, you would need to put the asterisk symbol between 5 and K.
Uh-huh. Great. So I've heard from many people. Lovely. Thanks for doing that. Yeah. So I like the two different answers that I got. I'm going to say that the answer I want is the 5 times K. And that's because I have defined K up here. And so, well, one, I know what the Jeans mass is. It's 5 times K divided by G times mu times M all to the whatever the hell that says. But it's also, if you're looking at this and you're like, I don't actually know what this equation is supposed to be, what's going on? If you have defined a variable up here, and the thing that doesn't have the multiplication symbol between it is like half of it is a variable you have already defined. You can kind of guess that you want these to be multiplied by each other. And a lot of debugging is guessing. Yay! So I'm going to yeah. So I'm going to comment everything out. If you guys are curious how I commented out multiple lines, what I did is you highlight all the lines that you want to comment out, and you hit Command /. Yeah, cool. That's very useful. And then we can run this, and then it gives me this ridiculous number, which is truly ridiculous. It says 1.075 E plus 32. That E means 10 to the 32. So it's 1.075 times 10 to the 32, which is a ridiculous number. But that's stellar physics for you. And now we're going to comment this out because we figured that out. We're going to move on to the next one. Is this new or great?
All right. So the next type of error we're going to look at is something that is called a name error. Again, take a second, try to figure out what's going on. I kind of already might tell you what's going on, but shout it out anyways. Yes. Anything else that y'all can see that might be going on, or do we feel like that's the only thing? That's okay if that's the only thing. Okay, cool. U is not defined. So how would we go about fixing this? Y'all can pick like any number or anything. It's just like it's supposed to be a speed. Okay, yeah, we could do something here that says U equals 1, which is going to tell Python, hey, this is the value of U. Yes, I was going to do that.
Sorry.
You're so good. Yeah, and so to illustrate the point Charlie just made, if I run this, what's happening right now, we don't see anything that's outputted in the code, right? Okay, this is the previous output, the 1.075. So the second iteration here is what I just ran. We don't see anything outputted, and that's because I called the function. It seems like it worked, or not the function. I created the equation. It seems like it worked, but I didn't print it out. So to make sure it shows up, I'm going to just print time prime. And then save. If I run it, gave me the value that I was, I guess, looking for. I don't know if it's the right value, but it's a value. So that's another thing you guys want to be careful of. I know like a lot of times name a variable something like list1, and then later on I'll be like list, and I like know that it's the same thing, but I'll call it different things, and it like gets confusing. Please be very like mindful of the way you name your variables, and like also sometimes where you define them. Sometimes if you want to do like a variable inside a function, like don't put things like outside, or like make sure everything is defined in the area that you want to use it. And we'll see that a lot too when we start dealing with like bringing data in from like a CSV file or something. If Python doesn't know what you're referencing, it's just going to yell at you. So make sure it knows what you're talking about, because it's a little silly sometimes. Cool. You want to do the next one? Play.
This is fun. I enjoy switching back and forth. Okay, so now we're going to comment this out again. And this is going to be a type error. Not that you necessarily know what that means yet, but you will. So let's see what happens when we run this. Notice nothing like that, no underlines. So can you guys see what's going on right now? Yeah?
I think that there might need to be parentheses rather than brackets.
Okay. More responses?
Same thing.
Okay. You guys have no idea how hard it is for me to not react to your responses. Yeah, let's see what happens. Haha, this is a really scary thing. Yeah. It's not subscriptable. So what that means is it can't subscript it. So it can't index into it, which is what it expects to see with these square brackets. So dot append is a method, and I would agree this does require a parentheses. Thumbs up, middle down. Okay. Yeah. It's not printing anything. That's good news that there is a that is good news that there is no error being found. To Pranathi's point earlier, cool thing about VS Code is that it keeps track of all the variables you have defined so far. And so you can just hit the tab button either on Mac or Windows, I believe, and it'll autofill for you. Sometimes if you've defined multiple things that begin the same way, then it won't know which option to use, and so you will have to like manually do it. But it is very useful. And so that is an intentional feature because computer scientists are really bad at remembering their variables. And yeah, so here's my number, so call me maybe. Who wrote this? Was this
Maham.
game? Oh, it was Maham. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
You print it, why does only the here's have like 2 apostrophes around it?
Does anyone have an idea? Because I initialized everything with the double quotation marks. Any ideas? Everything is initialized with a double quotation mark, but not here's. But here's when I print song. Hold on a second. I wanna. Sorry, I'm stopping you from doing what I did earlier. So notice here, so this is what was noticed. Here's still has double quotation marks, but everything else has single quotation marks. What's going on there? Because there's already yeah, so I would agree with that. There's already, sorry, I know what you're saying. I know what you mean by thingy. So what she's saying is that there's an apostrophe here. If this was single quotation marks, then it would have, then there would be an error because then if the outside ones were single quotation marks, then the full string would be here, not here's. And then there would be some random thing called S apostrophe, or sorry, S quotation marks. What's going on there? But that's an interesting thing because everything else has single quotation marks. And so what's happening is that single quotation marks is the default, unless there's an apostrophe in the word, because then it knows to output a double quotation mark so it doesn't throw an error. Yeah? Yeah, computers can be smart sometimes. If you tell them how to smart, then they are smart.
Okay, that was a really good question, though. It's definitely something that tripped me up when I started coding. Okay, so the last thing we're going to look at is going to be something called a runtime error. I personally think these are the hardest types of errors to catch, and they're the ones that I personally encounter the most, especially when you all get into like using while loops and for loops. But take a look at this code. If anyone sees what might be wrong, I can also run it to like output it, but I want people to look at it first. Yes, just yell out, we'll go there and then. Yeah.
0 and then the mouth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's run this and see what goes on. So we're seeing, oh, oopies. We're seeing 0 division error, which is very explicitly telling you what's going on, which is a float division by 0. Yeah, the one thing is sometimes like here it's obviously explicitly clear because your V and C are defined at these like integer numbers and you know what's going on. A lot of times you might not know why you're getting a 0 division error because you don't know the exact numbers you're throwing into your equations. So that's something that you might want to be cautious of. So My question here, and I think truly the more difficult part of this one is how would you address an error of this form? And I will give you a hint that it's not just like a one symbol change or one change because we still want to count, we want to make sure that this line works regardless of whether V and C are the same or if they're not. So what would you do?
Yeah, because this equation's right. Sucks.
Yes. Yeah, so what do you think we could do there? Mhm. Yeah, so you could do something like if V equals C, I don't know, print, I'll just print the words error, flop. And otherwise we should be good to go. So we're gonna just say else. We can set time prime to be what we want it to be. And then we can print out time prime. So
So
yes.
what should we do? We're getting what are we getting? We're getting a time prime is not defined.
Yeah, let me rerun this because it's
And
actually
why is that happening?
Because the if statement that defines time prime was never run.
That's an answer. I see more hands.
Yeah, you printed it, or you defined it within the if statement, but then the if statement never said to do anything. And then afterwards, you said to print something that isn't defined, because
I'm hearing agreement with the original answer. Do I have more reframing of that answer? Thumbs up, middle down, do we agree?
okay. I'd say in concept that is correct, but what we want to be like very specific of is we're not actually like I guess what you guys meant by if statement meant like in the whole conditional statement of within the if and else. I'm technically not defining anything within the if statement. I'm defining something within the else statement. So like y'all said, I would have to make sure that my print is within the else statement. Alternatively to that, I could define time prime outside of my whole if and else statement and then like adjust the value of it accordingly, which is something that is a very common use case, especially when you're doing loops and stuff. But now if I do this, I get error flop because V and C are the same. And if I'm to change the value of C to maybe like 2, then I should get a number, which I'm getting a number, which is a weird, is that an imaginary number? We're gonna ignore the point of the number, but all this goes to say is sometimes your solutions aren't like you're not gonna be able to fix everything. So you need to be able to identify cases that you can't really fix because like in this case it's literally like math. It doesn't exist. So you need to make sure you can identify those cases and put in like safeguards in your code basically. That'll let you make sure the rest of your program keeps running. We'll also publish a debugging guide that has these examples and many, many more that are also much more in detail and will walk you through like a step-by-step debugging process. So feel free to take a look at that because I think it's super helpful. Are there any questions about like debugging types of errors? Yes.
There was one time I was running a while loop then, and I forgot to put a restriction of like telling it when to stop. So it just like
It just
running, it doesn't know where to stop,
Mhm.
and it just reads the
it crosses your terminal.
yeah like,
Yeah.
It doesn't like respond. It doesn't crash. Like, what is that type of error?
That is a type of error. So I called this a runtime error. I was wrong. This is a zero division error. So what you're talking about is something called a runtime error. What happens is basically this like piece of code is getting executed like over and over and over and over, and it doesn't know where to stop. So it just keeps running, hence runtime. And then like your computer will keep trying to run things, and eventually, I don't know like the computer science of it.
I think what'll happen is it'll eventually time out.
Yeah, it just like eventually times out. So if you like keep it running long enough, it'll just be like, it feels like this is wrong and I shouldn't be running this anymore. So it'll just say like runtime error. So that is a very common type of error, and something that will help a lot, at least for me personally, is when you're doing loops, make sure you like print out what your variable values are at each like stage of the way. So let's say like you have a starting case, you want to make sure that like whatever you're incrementing is being updated the way you want it to be updated until it matches your final case. I know that's like a very vague description, but I promise the more that practice y'all have with loops, the more that'll make sense.
Print things out as you go. It's very useful.
Yes.
It's also yes.
We should. Yes, we're done.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. You want to explain this part, please?
Yeah, I can explain this part. Basically, what we're gonna do, we now have two questions that are combining some of the concepts we've learned, like loops, functions, dictionaries, lists, that kind of stuff. So what we're gonna do now in your groups, what we want you to do is take a look at this question. How do I like zoom out so they can see the whole thing? Thank you. Cool. So we're gonna give you like about like 6 to 8 minutes with your group, look through this question, and we're gonna make you guys write something known to the CS world as pseudocode. Pseudocode is basically, instead of writing real code, because no one really handwrites code, you're writing like a flow of logic. So for example, let's say that I have to define this function called add that takes in two variables, x and y, and returns the sum. If I were to pseudocode that, I'd write, here are the inputs I'm going to take, this is the process I'm going to do, and here are the outputs I'm going to give out. And then in that like middle section, you want to define any like methods or steps you want to use. A lot of questions you're going to see from here out in the class have many different approaches to them. Pseudocoding is a very valuable way to like help figure out what approach to take and what works best. It's also a good way to just like conceptualize your code visually, because I know that helps some people. It helps me personally when I get to like write things out as like a little flow chart or something. So take a second, read the question up on the board. If there's any questions about what exactly we're asking, we'll walk around. Feel free to let us know. But we'll take like 6 minutes.
So you're not writing code, not like what I did last on Thursday, where I made you guys write out like for I in whatever. You are writing out the flow of logic that you are going through. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing I heard from everyone, which is great, is step 1, loop through the list of dictionaries. What I might say first, though, is instead of starting with loop through the list, let's define what the function is going to take in and then what the function is going to output. This kind of gives you a bookend of what's going on. So I'm going to call this the 0th step because we are programmers. We zero index things. So when we define our function, our input is a list of dictionaries. And then, don't worry, I will post this. Our output is a dictionary of lists. That's generally how I'm thinking about this, because remember that what we want to do is get out, okay, for like each, if the key is 30, then we want this list of Alice and Charlie. Apparently, I'm 30 years old. Actually, that's not true. If you notice, these are all in alphabetical order. This is a CS thing. These are all the names that are commonly used in CS examples. So Alice and Bob are very common names that you will see in CS classes. Yeah, okay, so our input is a list of dictionaries, our output is a dictionary of lists. I can spell. Okay, then we're gonna loop through the list. We're going to do something interesting, which is initialize a new dictionary. First, actually, sorry. So this is going to be number 2. So number 1, we want to initialize a new empty dictionary. And it doesn't matter how we're going to do that. I will also post code for this. And then Pranati will post pseudocode and code for the other one that's on here. So you guys can look at that as well. So this is our number 1, because I want a dictionary to put things in. What I'm trying to do is I am trying to check and see if, so I want to check if the age of, yeah, which is, it lags sometimes, of the new person is already a key in the dictionary, in the new dictionary. And in pseudocode, you can give yourself some helpful hints. Remember from Thursday that you can get all the keys in something, or you can get all the keys in a dictionary with the .keys function. So if I call this new dict .keys, I can check if a value is in that list. And then if it is, or if, let's start with if it isn't in that keys list, then I want to set, or I want to open up a new key value pair. So create a new key value pair with a new list that initializes that first name. So what I'm saying is, in this new dictionary, there's no keys in it yet, right? So let's start with the first thing. Name Alice, age 30. 30 is not in the keys list of my new dictionary. There's nothing in the keys list of my new dictionary, right? So let's set new dict of age equal to a new list with the name Alice in it. Yeah? Cool. Ah. You see, I was writing this code earlier. But what happens if it is? If it is in this list, remember, we can update the value part of the key value pair. So we can say, and then that value should be a list, right? So we can say, we can append values to that list. So if it is, append the name to the list in key value pair. Yeah? This is a weird problem. And then, so then once you're done with this loop, sorry, 4 is finish loop. Then we can return new dict, or our new dictionary. Yeah? Great job, everyone. That was really cool to watch. You guys did a great job interacting with each other and writing out your things. I really liked where you were all going. And I will post code and my pseudocode solutions, and Pranati will do the same thing. Go home.
Thank you, everyone. Want to just I want to follow you set that something.
It's not totally done. Sorry.
You're good.
I mean, yeah, sorry. Hi.
I can't wait for you on Thursdays.